And we are live on YouTube for the 10th day in a row. Hello, good people of the internet. Like I just said, this is day 10 of the 20-day life challenge. And we're here again. Although, to be honest, I didn't really want to today, but had to. This is the challenge that I've taken up. And this is part of showing up. This is part of showing up authentically as you are and talking your heart out. Because if you are in India right now, I think you would have also woken up to the news of the saddening news of what has happened in Kashmir today morning, or rather yesterday morning. I think it was yesterday morning. I'm not sure, but for those of you who do not know, there's been a terrorist strike, and apparently terrorists killed Hindus. Terrorists literally asked people if they were Hindus. Perhaps I don't know what else is things that keep gonna come up, as in when more news comes in. But the general idea that is coming out is literally that terrorists were asking people if they were Hindus and then murdering them. And one of the more horrifying scenes has been a couple from Bangalore was visiting Kashmir. They were tourists there, and a lady literally saw her husband being shot in front of her, and she asks them to kill her too now, and they say no, you go back and tell this to Modi. Modi is our prime minister, for those of you who do not know. Crazy, absolutely crazy. So sad, like so sad. I don't know if I've ever woken up to a sadder news. I don't know. But yeah, now for me personally, if I take a step back away from the political turmoil, away from the religious turmoil, and take a step back personally, I've been facing turmoil in my own life too lately. I'm not my best self for the last 2 days, and I've been feeling a lot of um, personal sadness across a lot of dimensions. And to top it off, hearing such a news always does not really help. So my inner child was literally crying in the morning, is still not really in a very good mood, but uh, I thought that today morning's video should be centered around this, somewhere centered around this. And what I was doing today morning was, I was trying to write down a prayer for myself. I was trying to write down a prayer of how can I find peace amongst such chaos, amongst such turmoil. And something that turned up was there could have been a ritual of sorts. In fact, there are rituals of sorts which you can use to manage your turmoil, your personal turmoil. And those rituals, of course, will also have to be personal to you, personal to how you approach your life. So if you are someone who likes to sit closer to your friends, may you find your peace there. Maybe you could find your peace in the embrace of a loved one, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your wife, husband, your partner, your friends, your brothers, your sisters, whoever. Maybe it is in the feet of your parents. Maybe it is in the pages of a book that has always spoken to you. Maybe it's in the lyrics of a song that you've always loved to listen to when you were a soulful little kid. Maybe it's in the beats of a music that just takes you with it. There are all these different avenues that all of us can find. Not everything has to appeal to everyone, but something should appeal to you. And I feel it's a very personal thing, but these are some sort of rituals that you should have in your life to restore sanity back when you're facing such turmoil. For me, it is definitely all of these books that I read, and sometimes, hello Prem, good to see you here. Hi. So for me personally, managing turmoil, it helps if I go back to some books that have always helped me, you know, and of course it's also in the embrace of my wife, the feet of my mother. That's where all of these things came out. That what I just recited. So today morning, I decided to just sit down and have a meditation session for myself. I started with reading a book, and something beautiful came out. I was reading this book, Be Here Now by Ramdas. I do not know if you guys have ever read this. I have talked about this on my channel sometimes, but there was a section in this book that really resonated with me. And you know what it was? He was describing a story of how once he was living in California, and he used to live with a few other people who had a kid. And their ritual was Saturday morning, they would go out and buy some groceries. So, right before going out, the kid in the house just started to scream and shout and cry. And there was no way, with such a crying kid, with such a um, it was literally a lot of drama in the house, and therefore they could not really go shopping. And they wanted to. These adults in the house had planned their lives efficiently in this manner that Saturdays are for grocery shopping, so they had to go. And now they were in a state of utter turmoil. They could not figure out, even the kid was crying and was in turmoil, but now the adults were also in turmoil. And he says what happened was that one of the adults, ended up telling them what to do. So the kid was crying, they made him sit in the center, and all of these adults formed a circle around them, around the kid. They held their hands together and they just sat there peacefully. Just control your own actions, just sat there peacefully and let the kid cry. And in a few minutes from then, the kid stopped crying. The kid cried his heart out, but then eventually stopped crying. And the situation was resolved. There was no more turmoil in the entire situation, not even with the adults, not even with the kid. And they were able to go out shopping. And now that is a powerful life lesson too. I'm saying that because it's something that applies to our personal lives as well. We all have an inner child that is quite often in situations where it's literally crying, it's literally melodramatic, it's literally not really in the best state to carry on business as usual. And in such states of minds, our usual reactions are to suppress the emotion of our inner child, suppress the actions of our inner child, and just go on with work as usual. Now, that may be practical at times, but having that as your way of dealing with your inner child, having that as the way of managing your turmoil, is not really the healthiest thing you could do. This is a healthy thing you could do. So, in a controlled environment like these adults created for the kid, you can create a healthy environment for your own inner child. So, sit down, turn off the lights, put on some decent music that you can vibe to, and just let your inner child cry out. Let your inner child express its emotions. For some people, it is literally just writing things down on a piece of paper. For some of us, it is thinking out loud. For some of us, it's actually expressing. For some of us, it's crying. But whatever is your way of expressing your inner child, give yourself the permission to do that. Make yourself free enough and safe enough to actually be able to do that, because it's only then that you can transmute your sadness, that you can transmute your chaos and turmoil into something that could be peace. And if we cannot be peaceful within ourselves, we cannot really ensure in any possible way how we can have a peaceful society going forward. So there are things I would want to say about what happened in Kashmir, about what happened there, and how we can end up solving it. How more hatred is not the solution for the hatred that we're already seeing. How transcendence is the solution to the entire paradigm of religion. But none of that today. I cannot bring my best self forward to talk about that today, so I'm not gonna. Today's live video was supposed to be only about managing turmoil, and what I feel personally is helping me, what has helped me today morning also, that is why I'm calm right now, is because I went through this process myself. I picked up a few books, I put on some decent music, I danced my heart out, and I'm better now. I'm better. That does not mean that I'm already at my best self. I still am not. And it's still going to take some time. But you show up how you are, you show up with what you have, and you do what you have to do in that sense. Now, I have some messages for Prem. I'll say, Bhaiya, can you provide me a little bit of guidance at the end of the video on what are the ways to begin earning money as a teenager part time? You can continue with the topic of the video this time. Okay. Thank you, Prem. Prem, actually, this is a question that has turned up in a personal question another guy asked me very recently. So, what I'll tell you is, I would want to know a little bit more about you before I can answer this question, because honestly, this is not really my forte. But if you can shoot me an email via my website, go onto my website. There is a contact me page. Shoot me an email. I will then respond back to you over email, or I'll do something. I'll prepare a video for you or something like that. So make sure you send me a question there, and we'll talk about this, because it's off topic compared to what we have talked about here in this video. I would not want to talk it out here itself. Okay. So Prem, if you have heard this, make sure that you send me an email from my website. Um, or you can send me an email directly, info@chetannarang.org. I hope you have seen this, Prem. Okay, that's about it for today's video. Uh, I hope you get to manage your turmoil too. I hope you get to find the strength to process your turmoil and transmute it and not act out of your turmoil, chaotic self. That's about it for today. Until next time, peace out. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Prem. Bye.